What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, breaking within the last hour an exclusive from one of the industry insider Hollywood trades that a brand new Marvel character that you may not have heard of before is in development over at Sony to be added to their Sony Spiderverse. More than that, with direct ties to brand new characters Disney's introducing into the MCU. We're going to break down who this new character is, how it connects not only to what Sony has going on, but what Marvel Studios have going on as well, and why now of all times Sony is choosing to do this with the limited properties that they have. I'm also going to weigh in on my opinion, trying not to alienate the fan base here, with why I think this is happening and what I think will eventually happen with all of these projects Sony has announced in the last 16 months. We're going to break down this new character that Sony's developing for the Spider-Verse, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, as well as some brand new Disney Plus subscriptions to celebrate WandaVision in just a couple of days. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, and if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So this posted by the Illuminati within the last hour under the headline Dusk, a new Marvel Comics hero is in development for Sony, exclusive, posted by Richard Nebbins. They go on to report, quote, as Sony Pictures continues to develop their live action Spider-Verse, the Illuminati has discovered that a Dusk Marvel Comics adaptation is in the works for the studio. Now before we get into whatever Sony is doing over there, how they just keep piling on brand new Spider-Verse franchises with no Spider-Man or clear line of attack yet as far as what they want to do, pun totally intended, let's talk about who this character is, because I'm sure there's a lot of you here at the channel like me who went, wait, who? Dusk? Well, there's two versions that make sense, one specifically in the context of the MCU. The first was during his adventures, Spider-Man traveled to the Negative Zone. While there, he befriended a group of rebels battling the tyrannical Blastar. Their leader had been a hero called Dusk who wore a completely black costume. Dusk's name and costume had in fact been taken up by a series of people as a symbol of freedom, but the latest man to take up Dusk's mantle had been killed by Blastar's forces shortly after Spider-Man's arrival. At the rebels' request, Spider-Man wore the costume and led the rebels to victory. When he returned to the normal universe, he still had the costume. That's Peter Parker appearing as Dusk. Now, there's a later version of this character that sort of makes sense with what's going on now during the MCU. When Spider-Man was accused of murder during an identity crisis storyline, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to imply that Spider-Man 3 is Identity Crisis, but Peter Parker donned several different costumes to continue saving lives without anyone knowing it was him. One of the adopted identities was that of Dusk. As Dusk, Peter pretended to be a mercenary with a quiet and serious personality and teamed up with Trapster, who had in fact framed him for murder under Norman Osborn's orders by using a duplicate of Spider-Man's webbing to kill a small-time crook, Joey Z. Now that sounds very familiar with how Mysterio just framed Peter Parker for murder, but much in a different way. This is not a small-time thing, and again, I don't mean to imply that Spider-Man 3 is taking a page out of the Identity Crisis storyline. However, it is interesting though that Peter Parker specifically is the one tied to this Dusk costume, and how would they go ahead and make a Dusk series if you weren't going to use a Peter Parker of some sort? And this leads us directly back to what I mentioned in the prologue, where I sort of have to weigh in now on what Sony is doing with all of these characters and franchises, but no clear line to a Peter Parker. They've got a Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, a Morbius solo film, Kraven in a two-part series in development we've heard from the writer within the last year, an as yet untitled Olivia Wilde directed Spider-Woman film, and now possibly a Dusk franchise on top of the killed and then resurrected Silver Sable movie that may include Black Cat, but still no Peter Parker and still no Spider-Man. Now, of course, we know that Tom Holland's Peter Parker's future is in the MCU, and without speculating about them bringing back a Tobey Maguire or an Andrew Garfield to fill the hole in their own Sony Spider-Verse, the most clear and likely thing seems to be that they would have Tom Holland's Peter Parker show up over in the Sonyverse, and we know that's definitely what Sony wants. The problem is that Sony has botched this so many times that there is a clear chasm just here at the channel, but among fans everywhere, One side believes that, well, hey, we like everything. We like Venom, we like Morbius, give us more, please. The other side is like, no, Sony has done no justice to these films in the past. Without Marvel, they can't make a good movie. Please don't screw up the MCU continuity and the MCU quality by adding on to this. Now, I used to be firmly in that camp. I didn't want to see Sony do any of this. My original stance was, Sony, just give all the rights to Marvel, tell them how much percent you want, tell them where to mail the check, tell them to have a nice day. I've sort of come around on that, and this has been my reasoning, and I'm sure some of you guys will agree. There's no chance we were ever going to get a Morbius solo title in the MCU. Yeah, we're getting films and TV shows we never thought we'd get, like a Young Avengers or a She-Hulk, but when it comes to some of these fringe rogue gallery for Spider-Man villains, there's no chance they were ever getting solo films. So if you look at it from that point of view, where Marvel maybe has a hand in it, Kevin Feige helps, oversees some of these projects in a light way, and then we get extra continuity, extra canon that we wouldn't have gotten in the MCU, I'm all for it, as long as they can come somewhere close to the quality that we expect from a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, as I just said moments ago, Tom Holland's future is squarely in the MCU, and as we reported just yesterday, Spider-Man 4 is already in development, which really isn't news considering they put out a Spider-Man movie every other year. They're basically always in development on the next film, which leads me to my final thought, and it's important to note, just because something makes it to development doesn't mean you actually ever get the franchise or series, and as evidence of this, that Silver Sable Black Cat film that was in full development and then seemingly got shut down in its tracks and then was re-announced, but we've never heard anything about it since. Just because they're developing a Dusk character doesn't mean we're actually going to get a Dusk franchise, and it seems like of all of the franchises they already have going with Venom, Morbius, possibly Kraven, they have an ultra need for Peter Parker Spider-Man way before they ever get to a Dusk series. I don't quite see how they're going to make this work without an additional Peter Parker, a different Spider-Man in the MCU, maybe a Miles Morales to take the place where Peter Parker should have been. Either way, if you guys are for this, let me know in the comments, and if you guys are against it, I already know you're going to. I see the comments every time we talk about Sony entering the MCU, what they're doing with their side of the canon. Just try to look at it as additional canon. Just try to look at it the same way you looked at the Netflix shows. It's additional, it's adjacent. You don't need it to ruin the MCU for it. It's totally a different thing, and the day that we finally get Tom Holland's Peter Parker showing up in any of these Sony projects, well, then we can change the conversation that day, and you guys know I'll be right there ready to have it. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff. Before I let you go, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, which we are coasting towards right now, as well as on Friday, we're going to announce some new winners for the Disney Plus subscriptions to celebrate the release of WandaVision, and we're basically going to keep going all year with all of the Marvel TV shows. If you want to be entered to win any of the prizes or future prizes here at the channel, all the same rules always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. The best way to do that is to hit the notification bell with notifications turned on to keep up with the content, and as always, if you enjoyed today's video, the rest of the content here at the channel, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me over on Instagram and Twitter under the handle at @IamFires. You can find me on Spotify with original music under All Fires, or on Twitch, twitch.tv/Novellin. There are links down in the description to all of those. Thanks for checking out the channel, and stick around, guys. We'll be posting again real soon.